Psychiatric hospitals or mental hospitals are more commonly referred to as mental asylums. An asylum is a term for somewhere that would be considered a sanctuary or safe place. The first asylum was established in 1752 in Philadelphia by the Quakers. Today, it is known as the Eastern State Hospital. Asylums gained popularity very quickly. By 1880, 139 mental asylums were built. By the end of the 19th century, mental asylums were turning for the worse.
Mental asylums were originally designed for the physically and mentally handicapped. They were a sanctuary for the handicapped when no one at home could or would take care of them. It was frowned upon in the 1800s to have a disabled person in your household, so disabled people would be sent away to the asylums where they could get proper care. Employees of the asylums genuinely cared for their patients and gave good treatment initially. Asylums even cared for the deceased by giving proper burials and holding the remains of patients until their kin came to collect them. Asylums were extremely successful with their treatments and their establishment. Employees genuinely cared for their patients' recovery and would grow friendships with their patients. Proper care was not a rare sight when asylums were first introduced.
Mental asylums quickly went downhill. Due to the rise of new patients, they became understaffed and had to hire unqualified employees. Because of the unqualified staff, treatment started to fail. The unqualified staff started to experiment with new treatments. These treatments included trepanation, electroshock therapy, bloodletting, straitjackets, drugging, insulin coma therapy, and lobotomy. The staff also dehumanized the patients by chaining them to walls, isolation, and 24-hour bed restraints. Soon the asylum turned into a place of torture rather than a place of safety. Asylums were sometimes referred to as hell hotels because of their horrid treatment. In the beginning, only mentally and physically handicapped people were allowed to be placed into the asylums. But once asylums started to be more successful, they became more money-hungry and started taking in people with incurable diseases and illnesses. They also accepted anyone without questioning, leading to many innocent women being placed in asylums due to their husbands not wanting to pay for a divorce. Instead of asylums being a way to get help for the handicapped, they turned into a dump house, used to dispose of people who are unwanted in the area or home.
Asylums have changed greatly over time. Asylums are now known as psychiatric wards or units. Asylums have gone more underground and aren't very popular today. Many people believe that all asylums have shut down, but as of 2020, there are 12,275 running asylums. Over 75% of these asylums were less than 24 outpatient facilities. Asylums are still thought of as a place of torture and misery, but asylums have greatly changed their ways. Today, asylums typically only hold patients for 24 hours but give much better treatment than they used to. Asylums might never recover from their past, though. Even with some asylums still running, they are quite the rare sight and are very limited. All asylums today have laws and rules against old treatment methods, and it's much harder for them to get away with what they used to. Asylums typically only take mentally handicapped and have very strict safety protocols to keep patients safe and ensure proper treatment. Patients in asylums today are not allowed anything sharp or loose like a sheet or curtain that they could possibly strangle themselves with, and the walls are sloped so the patients do not hang themselves. Patients get proper care and treatment again in an asylum.
The notion of asylum, it was a place to be cured.
The reason he was admitted was worry.
There are a lot of experimental therapies that now strike us as quite bizarre, even sadistic.
Sterilization without consent.
The mentally ill were not really deinstitutionalized.
Today, there are 10 times more people with mental illness in jails and prisons than in hospitals.
Psychiatric hospitals were known as lunatic asylums or insane asylums, and officials there would lock patients up against their will, despite having few ideas about how to properly treat their problems. In 1900, patients at psychiatric hospitals in the United States faced inhumane treatment that today would be regarded as nothing short of torture. Given how awful the care was, some people with mental health issues tried to hide their condition to avoid being sent to an asylum. And it's hard to blame them. In 1887, journalist Nellie Bly agreed to go undercover in a mental asylum to record the conditions inside. She reported horrific treatment from doctors, including hair pulling and solitary confinement. Bly also decried the way patients were treated like prisoners. She wrote of how when she couldn't sleep, she would lay in bed imagining how horrible it would be if a fire broke out in the institution. Bly had noticed that every door in the building was locked separately, and the windows were all heavily barred, meaning that escape was close to impossible. A doctor had told her that in one building alone there were some 300 women locked 10 to a room. and it was impossible to get out unless the doors were manually unlocked.
Asylums have changed greatly. Asylums have gone from an amazing place to a horde hell hotel to yet again a genuinely good place to get proper treatment. Asylums have impacted medical treatment so much. So many medical treatment methods would not be possible if not for asylums. It is incredibly sad what happened to the people in asylums during their downfall, but without them we would not be anywhere close to where we are today with medical treatment methods. Even though asylums could not help their patients at the time, they have greatly helped with treating patients today. With asylums, we have discovered methods of treatment that would have never been tested before, but have actually become extremely useful. Asylums allowed us to open our eyes to using drugs as a treatment method, and with time and knowledge, we have been able to do amazing things with drugs without doing more damage to the patient but simply helping them. Because of asylums, we no longer see electroshock therapy, giving people drugs, bloodletting, and more as proper treatment.